Welcome to another Highlight Zone After Hours. I am one of your two hosts, Steve.
And I'm a very happy Kelly on this end.
This is going to be bizarre because we just recorded the entire episode perfectly, and the camera for some reason moved and didn't record us. So, as per usual, their technical difficulties are abundant, and we have a lot of stuff to cover, including retelling what happened at Fan Fusion, some giant breaking news, and then him and I are both retelling two very iconic episodes of The Twilight Zone. Let's get into this. We'll see you in a second.
I feel like I've done this before. What do you...
Swipe.
You're traveling through another dimension. A dimension not only of sight and sound, but of Twilight Zone reviews. A journey into a wondrous land of intoxication where a father, son, and guest drink and retell episodes of The Twilight Zone.
There is a fifth dimension.
Stay tuned because your next stop is the Highlight Zone After Hours.
The Twilight Zone.
Let's do this. This is worth doing twice, I must say.
Long story short, we just did this entire episode. The entire thing, and we noticed that the camera on my gimbal, for some reason, shifted so that all you saw was half of my dad's face. So we're redoing it again. So I'm going to tell you, this is not going to be your standard episode. Our retellings are going to be succinct and to the point, and I guarantee you're going to hit the 3-minute shot clock, because before this, we just chugged 3.5 Long Island iced teas, which could make this wildly interesting.
This could be one for the record books.
We had to switch to wine. We had drank way too much
of all the other ingredients.
Well, let's get into this. Before we get into our retellings, we want to thank everybody that came out to Fan Fusion because it was an incredible event. So what happened was we had our panel on Saturday at Fan Fusion, and it was a trivia retelling episode. We had 3 special guests. We had Andy, the narrator, Belinsky. We had my sister Bonnie. And then we had Lila show up, and they retold Terror at 20,000 Feet, Two Serve Man, and The Masks. And they did that in 3 minutes in front of a packed room.
Which we've already proven we cannot do.
We have not proven that.
Well,
We're going to prove that.
We have in another zone, in the Twilight Zone. In this,
that was zone. You're right. I love
we
that.
are living the Twilight Zone.
This is either
going to
be a shorter episode than the one we just did or longer, because I think we're going to be hammered by the end of this.
We'll see how this goes.
So let's retell what happened at Fan Fusion. I'm going to put the video right here, right in this nice section right here, so you guys can see it. I had a great time. The Fan Fusion event itself was great. Allie was our lady that put it all together for us. So thank you, Allie. And we hope we can get you on to an interview later or maybe next year, because I think we have an invite to come and do this again later. We will see. But we nailed it. I think we nailed it. We had a very full room with hardcore Twilight Zone fans.
People didn't just wander into our panel.
Nope, they knew.
These people were psyched about the Twilight Zone. They knew what they were coming for. The enthusiasm was contagious.
You could feel it.
It was awesome.
It was electric, to be honest. It very much was. Our room location was crazy. It was right in the main area. We met a guy on Friday walking around in head-to-toe Highlight Zone stuff, so Twilight Zone gear. So I went over and said hi. He goes, yeah, that's the entire reason I'm here. His name is Brian. That's important for multiple reasons. Number one, Brian won the trivia and the retelling. He retold The Hunt, and he won that poster over there on the wall and a bunch of other swag. And he also came in first place in the trivia. So this guy knew what he was doing. Yeah. Super cool guy. And also, we're lucky enough, we asked him. He's going to come back in a few episodes and retell The Hunt with us in person so that we can actually dig into this episode. Because this is a really emotional episode. And I think that's what he said. He chose that one because, I don't know, he said it was deeply important to him, and it was super sweet.
It was meaningful to him. The other thing is a young couple, or an older couple, that we had met earlier that day in the hotel lobby while we were prepping for the panel. They come up to us out of the blue, introduce themselves, they find out what we're doing, and they say, we really want to be a part of this. So they ask what time, what room number, and sure enough, the woman shows up and sits on the front row and is so engaged, is so active in following everything we did, aggressive with the trivia.
Yes.
So we're having people come up from right and from left that are just excited about what we're doing, and they want to be a part of this. I could not guess that we would be as successful as we were. No, I thought the panel was excellent. To all of you, to Lila, to Bonnie, to Andy. kudos to Anthony for the poster. That
Anthony
was
Helmer.
the most incredible thing. Anthony, you did a job above and beyond. That is a beautiful piece of art. Everyone appreciated that. The people coming in, they did not leave. They were excited. The enthusiasm, they all got into this. It was like a cheering section.
No, they got
from
way
beginning
into it.
to end.
The feeling was electric, which was super fun, and everyone had posters and wristbands. Thank you again, Anthony. It was absolutely fantastic. But they came in there early. They knew what they were doing, and it was a lot of fun. Yeah. Our retellers, which was, like you just said, Andy, Bonnie, and Lila, they absolutely nailed it. Andy started off and made it so comical that the people were cracking up. When Bonnie went and retold To Serve Man, there was a point that I really wish we had audio for, but you can probably see it in the video before. There was some really good interaction. At the end of her panel, when she said... She was getting to the end, and she said, and what did she come and say? It's a cookbook. The entire room.
Everybody responded to her question and answered in unison.
What?
It's a cookbook.
It was so cool that everybody did that.
Yeah.
And then Lila retold the mask, which is a really tough one to tell in 3 minutes, and she kind of nailed it.
Oh, she
After
did.
we just did this, because we just tried this, and like we said before, I don't know how you retell the masks in 3 minutes.
No.
That's a tough one, and she freaking did it. So kudos to everybody there. And Allie again at Fan Fusion, thank you again for the opportunity. And, we'll update our trivia slides next year. We'll have new guest retellings. And so I didn't say this before, but Mike Hunter, who had been on the show before, he dropped out of this one because he had a wedding that day. Yep. So maybe next year we'll get him to join the panel.
Well, and kudos also to Steve. Steve mastered this whole thing. He had drafted the process with the whole interaction, the way that we produced this thing was all on Steve. I was just there to enjoy this thing. He did a masterful job. Thanks to you.
Dude, thanks to you. You know what? One more cheers. You know who I didn't thank last time was freaking Sarah. She ran the trivia from an iPad in the back of the room.
She was the technical expert.
And if it
that made
wasn't
this
for
happen.
her doing it, this whole thing would have sucked. So that's why I'm glad we got to do this a second time. Cheers, Sarah. So everyone involved, thank you very much.
May I also give a kudos out to Scout, who played
Talking... Oh, my God!
She played Talking Tina from beginning to end.
Wait a minute. Ready? I'm going to insert a picture right here. Whoosh. Scout was literally dressed head to toe as Talking Tina, and one of the people asked if they could take a picture with her, and she got too scared.
She actually got, I think, some claps and some cheers from the
tons.
whole audience for her Talking Tina role that she played.
It was incredible.
It was
I forgot
great.
about that. See, that's why a second recording
cool.
is good.
That was cool.
So thank you, everybody, for joining, and it was a blast. So the craziest thing, though, and we talked on this before, while we were in the panel, you can't make this shit up. While we were doing our panel, we finished the panel, we were done, and I looked at my phone, and it was blowing up with updates. What happened while we were in there? Freaking Ben Stiller, the director and co-creator of Severance, which we have done before. He's a massive Twilight Zone fan, was just tagged to direct the next Twilight Zone film in partnership with Appian Way and Warner Brothers.
In real time, during our during our panel.
You cannot make this shit up. It happened while we were doing it. So we dug into this, and we've looked it up, and we've read every news article. And here's the thing is we know that it's not an anthology film like the one that came out in the 80s. It's not going to be one movie with 4 stories. It's either going to be one story or it's going to be a biopic or documentary style.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't be a documentary. It would be a biopic, maybe retelling of Rod Serling. We don't know. But all we know is it's been in the works for years, and it's always hit roadblocks. But finally, Ben Stiller made it happen. So we don't know a release date. We don't know any of that, but it is happening. It has already been signed, and the script is done.
So I don't have the experience or the knowledge that Steve does, obviously, about what's going on behind the scenes. All I can say is, since we started doing this in the last 2 years, there has been more news, more interest in the Twilight Zone.
It's
nothing to do with us, obviously. We're just hangers-on like all of you are
or
out there.
everything to do with all of us.
But this Twilight Zone is having a resurgence in so many forms of media, unlike anything I've ever seen.
It's palpable.
Before.
Thanks to Ben Stiller and the people that made Severance and showing how you can make this good weirdo story today, we're freaking getting something new. So stay tuned. Look it up on your own, but we have some really good shit coming up here, and it's thanks to them.
And may I say, in 20 seconds or less, thanks to Rod Serling, I just went and watched The World
The Life of Chuck.
Life of Chuck. There is a narration or a narrator throughout this show. I love the show. I love Stephen King. But there's a narrator. I kept thinking from beginning to end, this is Rod Serling circa 2025.
And
so
The Life of Chuck, by the way, just a quick plug, my favorite movie of the year so far. I cannot. You've seen it twice, you lucky son of a bitch.
and I
It's
loved
so
it
good. The
more
narration,
the
though.
second time. And
Absolutely.
the narration, all I kept thinking was, this is Rod Serling doing what he does best 70 years ago.
So the other thing that came out literally while we were doing this panel and the weekend of was the Twilight Zone is now getting a black and white anthology comic book that starts releasing on September 24th through Dark Patterns. Let's see here. I don't really know who they are because I don't do a lot of comic book stuff, but I'm going to put the picture up here right now. Right over here, you're going to see it. It's gorgeous. The artwork is gorgeous. The story looks incredible and is going to be an anthology series that you can buy at your local comic shop. So go and find them and get ready and find a way to pre-order them because you're going to be able to start reading those. So we will cover those in the fall when they start coming out. We're all going to get them and talk about them. But again, Twilight Zone is back, and it's back in a very special way. It's really incredible. So I'm excited as hell because, like I said, I thought it was done when Jordan Peele's one botched it. I really thought it was over. You know, which is the normal thing. You think that someone screws it up and it's done. It's not.
So
the content is too good.
I'm thinking about when you and I started this very thing, and to all of you, thank you for suffering through what we do and give to you every month. We love doing what we're doing, and to all of you, thank you for participating in this, which leads us to one last thing that's right behind Steve's head.
Which is
the coolest thing ever, and we thank all of you for your involvement in this. But I'll turn it over to Steve and let you know what happened.
We did just win a telly for TV and talk interview show in 2020. It's called 2025 because that's when they give it to us. But we just won it. So, is absolutely fantastic. And we got really interesting feedback from the judges. Yes. And the feedback from the judges was they liked the change of pace. I'm not going to lie. I don't really know what that means. Although I do know it could be that. It could be the drinking.
It could be Long Island iced teas are now experiencing a resurgence at all bars nationwide. Possibly.
It could be the episode where I was in a bikini.
Can you do me a solid? Can you do that mind over matter thing and bring me another sunbathing Sarah?
Yeah, hold on. It might be a bit hard for me to do that. Hold on a second.
No. What the hell?
It could be the episode.
That was a mind-numbing experience.
It is a mind enlightening. Who the hell knows? And then the other one was they really liked our dynamic. And he says, I like that because, I don't know, generational gap.
Hey, father-son. We need to neutralize.
I mean, if he had two of your Long Islands, he might be dreaming this shit on his own.
I love doing this with you.
I think it's absolutely fantastic, nostalgic.
Not to get emotional about this. This is a blast. We love doing
super
this.
Fun.
We love having you watch this. We just enjoy doing what we're doing. So
absolutely.
I hope you enjoyed the ride.
Absolutely. So thank you everybody for joining us in this weird dimension that we're doing where we're actually quite buzzed at this point, and it's really fun because we already did this entire show. Speaking of which, we have 2 episodes to retell for you tonight. Those 2 episodes are, I'm going to be retelling 5 strangers. See, I've already said this before. 5 characters in search of an exit, and he's going to be retelling a quality of mercy. I don't have my
glasses on.
And because we're freaking lit, buddy. All right, so here we go. We're going to start this off. What we're doing, we tried this before. Like I said, 90 times. This is the second time we've done this one. I think we're going to get it this time. Okay? 3-minute shot clocks. If we put the panelists through 3 minutes and we put Brian, who came up out of nowhere in front of all of these people to do a 3-minute shot clock, we're doing the same thing today.
All right, I'm up for this. Let's
you up for this? Ready? Okay. Because we already drank our drinks before.
Yes, we did.
We shifted over to wine. 5 characters in search of an exit. Season 3, episode 14, first aired on December 22nd, 1961. It was directed by Mr. Lamont Johnson and written by Rod Serling, based on a short story by Mr. Marvin Patel. And since we do not have Andy, the narrator Belinsky, reading these things for us, I'm going to go ahead and read the intro and exit narration. Here we go. Intensity sounds. I don't have an intensity sound, but I'm going to do it anyway.
Oh, I'm feeling it.
I like it. Ready? Clown, hobo, ballet dancer, bagpiper, and an army major. Remember that, Major?
Yes, Major.
A collection of question marks. 5 improbable entities stuck together into a pit of darkness. No logic, no reason, no explanation. Just a prolonged nightmare in which fear, loneliness, and the unexplainable walk hand in hand through the shadows. In a moment, we'll start collecting clues as to the whys and the whats and the wheres. We will not end the nightmare. We will only explain it because this is the Twilight Zone. All right, I'm going to give myself my 3-minute shot clock. I'm going to put it up right here.
I'm already going to hold my glass.
Yeah.
No way you're going to do this.
Oh my God, son of a bitch. Ready? Here we go. 3 minutes on the clock.
Go.
See if I remember anything I said before. All right, so the story starts with a army major. He's in his suit. He gets placed. I'm not going to say anything else. He wakes up in a circular kind of area, and he doesn't know where he is. And the only person he sees at first is this old-timey, and as he said before, super creepy-ass clown.
Yeah.
And he's a little bit nuts, and he's got an accent, and he's dressed like...
Again, Stephen King.
It's-
This is why you painted the clown.
Yeah, it's
so
Pennywise
bad,
shit. It's
because this was what caused you to create
Pennywise. Again, absolutely.
This is one creepy clown.
Except
Sorry
he's
about
not
that.
a bad guy. He's a good guy.
He is,
He's
but
just
he's still
annoying.
creepy.
Yeah, he's still creepy. So anyway, he's in here and he's trying to figure it out, and then he looks around after talking with this clown for a few minutes, and he realizes there are 4 other people here. There is a hobo, a bagpiper, a ballerina,
And the clown.
a clown, and him. There's 5 people in that room. So they're trying to figure it out. It goes to the intro narration. It comes back, and he is like, I don't know where I'm from. I don't have a memory. The ballerina is talking to him a lot, and he goes, we need to get out of here. We need food and water. And she goes, are you hungry? Are you thirsty? And he goes, no, but that's to be expected under this situation. Big tell number 1. And you're trying to figure out what the hell is happening. So he starts digging with this, he's trying to dig through the side, and he takes this sword, right? It's a sword, and he's
He
trying
has a saber, yeah.
It's a saber, and he's trying to get through the side. He goes, it's some sort of a metal, blah, blah, blah. And the whole time, the clown is being kind of a dick. I'm sick of the clown at this point already because he's not helping. He's
mocking the
He's
guy.
mocking him, but also that's to his character, and we figure that out later. So they start doing their thing, and they all don't know where they're from. They have no
Clowns are
idea
assholes,
who they
by
are. Yeah. I'm going to take a drink right there. Do you like that? I just gave myself a 4-second buffer. Okay, anyway, so
good.
they start figuring it out, and he goes, we need to climb out of here. We need to get out of here. Let's start standing up. The one thing they notice is looking up into this thing that they're in, they can see a faded kind of light in the corner, and they hear a very loud bell, a bong every once in a while. So they start climbing on each other's shoulders. And they're like, okay, the ballerina goes on top. So they start getting up there, and they're climbing up the side, standing on each other's shoulders, climbing. Oh, man, I just was really far away from the mic. Climbing up the side, and the ballerina gets to the top, and then the bong hits, and then she falls down and twists her ankle, so she can't get out. So they say, we need to try this again. So they tried again without her. So he takes his saber, puts it on like a sash. It's like a big thing. They start climbing up again. So the major gets on top, and he throws his saber over, and the sash catches, and he gets to the top of the ridge, and they're like, did you get over? He climbs over the top finally of this big cylinder, gets on the top. They're like, what do you see? And he goes, ah! And he falls over.
There's
and
a bong that causes him to
the
fall
bong
over.
rings, scares him, and he falls over. 3 seconds. I'm done. God, I'm already hiccuping. I'm done. Okay, we're drinking. 3 minutes is impossible.
It is
How they did
impossible.
it on that panel is wild. Okay.
We were both driving them and reminding them of every second. So
Fuck. Massive props to them. Okay, so anyway, he falls down. You see him fall into the snow face down. The camera kind of goes over, and you see a little girl walk over in the snow and goes, oh, look at this. And she picks up an action figure, regular action figure size, that looks exactly like the major. And she goes, oh, ma'am, what's this? Blah, blah, blah. She goes, oh, that must have been one for the toy drive. And you see that what they were all sitting in the entire time is a metal cylinder that says a donation box for toys, figures. It says doll donation or something like that. Doll donation. So she goes, just put it back in there and whatever. So the little girl leans over, drops him over, looks over the side, and there's all 5 of them in action figure form, totally static and not moving. And then it walks away. She walks away, and you get the exit narration, which is, I always say exit narration, it's closing narration. Ready? So, here we go. Just a barrel, a dark depository where are kept the counterfeit, make-believe pieces of plaster and cloth, wrought in a distorted image of human life. But this added hopeful note: perhaps they are only unloved for a moment. In the arms of a child, there can be nothing but love: a clown, a tramp, a bagpipe player, a ballet dancer, and a major. Tonight's cast of players, the odd stage known as the Twilight Zone. Okay, so this episode has I'm going to say an oddly high rating on IMDb. It is at an 8.5. And I've had a roller coaster of emotions with this episode after the many times of watching it, where I'm up and down. For a while, I thought it was amazing. Then for a while, you and I talked about it, and I thought it was horrible because there's no answers given. And then I settled in today with an 8. I think that this is an 8. What do you give it?
I gave it a 7. And the reason I gave it a 7, those of you should be motivated to watch this episode, because once you've watched it once, and this thing has been replayed, how many times over the last 60 years? Hundreds of times. This is the one episode of all the episodes of The Twilight Zone that I know the ending. I cannot watch the episode because I already know the ending. When you realize they're living in a trash can and all they got to do is climb out and then they become dolls, when you know where they are, it takes away from the rest of the episode. And the fact that it's got the longest title of any episode in Rod Serling's history tells me that they were all trying to reach for something on this, and I thought it was a step too far. I gave it a 7 because of originality. I've never seen anything before or after that mimics this same theme. So I give them credit.
Except for Toy Story.
Credit, except for Toy Story, which was a massive success and created a whole industry over that one movie based on Rod Serling's
entire studio.
25 minutes.
So there's no real good trivia outside of the fact that the toy that gets picked up is by a little girl, and that girl is one of the producers of the Twilight Zone. Then none of the other trivia besides the title and its reference to Shakespeare doesn't really matter. But I'm going to tell you, I really disliked this episode for a long time. And then I came kind of to, because you don't always have to have the answers to the questions. And in this one, it only is answers. But I want to ask real quick just to you, what the fuck do you think is going on? Are they always toys? Is it like when Andy sees them, they freeze up? Because this wasn't voluntary, or else he would have been sprinting down as a little person. Were they put in there? Like,
I have to think that there's two different zones. That's why it's the Twilight Zone.
Right.
When they're in the garbage can or this donation bucket alone,
but then they're
animated.
But she looks in and
she
sees
looks
them.
in and sees them, so they become frozen and they become dolls again. It's two completely different environments.
And I can see IMDb ratings and users loving this episode because it's so twisty. I do have to say one thing, though. For an episode 8, I have a big negative to say about this. Its rewatchability is relatively low.
You can't watch it again. You can't.
Its twist doesn't answer any questions. Nope. When you see the twist in any of the other episodes, and when you find out the Monster Do on Maple Street that it's aliens controlling it, it makes sense, and you can rewatch it and understand. This one, there are just no answers, and I still am okay with that, which is why I have an 8. But damn, I really want to know, were they like cursed to be put in there? Were they always toys? Are they taken out and then do they forget who they were? Like when she drops him back in, is it him forgetting that he was outside?
Does
for
he
a
start
second?
all over again?
Does he start all over? Or does the ballerina go, bitch, you were just here. You just got out. I broke my ankle helping you and you don't even remember? I have no idea. That's why this isn't the highest rating for me, but it's still pretty damn high because you don't always have to have the answer.
All I can say is if you're in the military out there watching this episode, watching us redo this, and you climb up on top of something and you fall into a snowbank, do not go head first because you will turn into a doll and be thrown into a bucket. Do not do that. Land on your stomach. Land on your legs. Do not go head first. It's not a good ending for you.
Moral of the story is I already redid this one an hour ago, and I went over the 3 minutes, and I did it again. Bitch, we're drinking. Okay, because we're about to go into his episode, which is substantially, I don't know. I'm just going to say it's different. It couldn't be any different.
Completely different. Lead us into this thing, Bees.
I'm going to go into this. A Quality of Mercy. Aired episode, this is episode season... This is what happens with the Highlight Zone and a lot of drinks. I forgot where we're at. Episode 3, Season 15, aired on December 29th, 1961. Directed by one of our favorite directors of Twilight Zone, Mr. Buzz Kulik. Written by Rod Serling, based on an idea by Sam Rolfe. Now, before we get into the nitty-gritty, my man, you have re-watched this one multiple times.
Right.
We have wildly different kind of thoughts and opinions, but it comes down to some really cool stuff, and I'm excited to go over this again with you, even though we've already done it. Let's get into the intro narration.
Let's do this.
Ready?
Go. So I'm going to ask you a question
Wait a minute.
to begin with.
Hold on a second. I didn't do the intro narration yet. Hold on a second. Ready? See, wait, you are already going to break the rule. 3 minutes, you can't do the Kellyism.
Okay,
Kellyisms, you have to cut that shit out.
Oh,
it doesn't work. For any of you that know, he
Namaste
always
to
starts his
myself.
time because he's such a goat with it. He knows he has time and he asks questions.
But
he
I
gives
can't
his
do the 3
background
minutes.
story.
I
On
fucking
3 minutes, you
failed
got to
on
cut
the
that
3.
shit out.
All
Okay.
right.
Intro narration. It's August 1940. Cut your shit. It's August 1945. The last grimy pages of a dirty, torn book of war. The place is the Philippine Islands. The men are what's left of a platoon of American infantry whose dulled and tired eyes, set deep in dulled and tired faces, can now look towards a miracle. That moment when the nightmare appears to be coming to an end. But they've got one more battle to fight. And in a moment, we'll observe that battle. August 1945, Philippines Islands, but in reality, it's high noon in the Twilight Zone. All right, so hold on a second. Let's get into this because
do this.
you already tried to jump the gun.
I did.
And I know what you're all about. Are you going to make it this time?
I'm going to do this. But a quick question, 10 seconds or less.
Before we start the clock, do your Kellyism first, and then let's do the retelling. What do you got?
All right, well, I'm going to ask you because it plays a major role in this. What are the 3 things that Rod Serling focuses on throughout the entire Twilight Zone storyline?
Are you talking the shock?
Yeah.
Okay.
One is
Story.
aliens.
Okay. Oh my God. You mean aliens, robots,
Genre.
and
Military.
well, military definitely is one of them. Yeah.
Okay. It's one of the top 3 or 4. This is the classic Rod Serling reaching back to his roots, his history. He fought in World War II. It was filmed in 1961. This is recent history for him, and this is emotional and personal for him.
Yes.
So here you've got a bunch of GIs.
Wait, are we starting?
Let's do it. Let's start right now. I just wanted to paint that picture because this is a favorite topic of Rod Serling, one of 3 or 4 that he goes back to over and over and over again. This is a moralistic storyline of his that he feels deeply about. You got GI soldiers. They're on a hilltop. They're launching mortars at a cave. This cave contains some Japanese soldiers they have no escape. So the question is, do you attack the cave? Do you bypass the cave? So why these grizzled GIs in the Philippines are trying to decide what do we do with these soldiers, these Japanese soldiers in the cave. Lo and behold, a lieutenant rolls up in a Jeep. This young, green, behind the ears,
You just
know
said
nothing,
You nailed it.
tries to take over. He instantly takes command.
Overly
Are you
aggressive.
guys ready to attack? Have you got your flamethrowers? And these guys that have been through 3 years of war, hand-to-hand combat, and they show this experience, they're looking at him like, who the hell are you? So they start discussing it with him. The sergeant wants to challenge him and says, wait a minute, there's some options. This young lieutenant wants nothing to do with it. Guys, get ready. We've got to attack. We have to take this cave. No prisoners. They're the enemy. So at that point, they're getting ready. They're putting the mud on their faces. They're getting ready to slog through the jungle to attack this cave because this young lieutenant wants them to do this. And the lieutenant drops his binoculars. Instantly, this lieutenant, who is so gung-ho, suddenly becomes a Japanese lieutenant. And he's arguing with his commanders about attacking the cave. Well, he sees them as Japanese. He runs towards the cave.
He's freaked out.
He's freaked out because I think he thinks the Japanese have escaped the cave and they've now overrun his position.
You don't really know what the hell he's thinking because it's so weird. Go
Well, he
ahead.
still thinks he's a GI. He's an American. He runs to the cave. Instantly, there's withering machine gun fire at him. He ducks down at the cave, sees that there are Americans in the cave, not Japanese, and he sees on a box Corregidor, Well, those of you who are ancient enough like me to remember the stories of Corregidor, this was a battle in 1942 when the Americans held the Philippines and they were overrun and forced to withdraw. So the roles have completely reversed. He's a Japanese lieutenant attacking the Americans in the cave.
In a different time.
In a different time, 3 years earlier. So he's arguing with his commander about attacking. This commander wants nothing to do with his arguments. We will attack. They are the enemy. We must kill them. No, wait a minute. We can go around. We can bypass them. No, we can't. Our job is to kill the enemy. So they argue back and forth. It ends up where this leader bypasses him and says, I'll deal with you later, and they attack the cave. But as he leaves, he drops his binoculars. They break again. Now this lieutenant is now switched back to an American GI.
All right, I'm going to stop you right there. We stop the clock. Keep going, though, because your retelling is fucking great. Go ahead.
So he now realizes, I've had a come to Jesus moment. I've seen it from both sides. There is no reason to attack this thing. He's talking to his soldiers and the sergeant who he was arguing with before, and while they're having this discussion, the radio man gets a call from the headquarters that says, hold off, do not attack. There's been a new weapon that we have just used in Hiroshima. Obviously, it's the atomic bomb. Don't attack. Let's see how the Japanese respond. So the end of the episode ends with them withdrawing. End of story, curtain closed. So the question is now, this guy's experienced it from both sides. 3 years earlier, he was the American soldier in the cave. Now he's the American gung-ho to attack. All of a sudden, he's aged probably, 20 years in about 10 minutes?
No joke.
From his experience. That's how this story plays out. The question is, what do you think about this? I thought it was an amazing twist.
Is one of the best. Let's exit this thing with his closing narration. Quote, the quality of mercy is not strained. It droppeth as the gentle rain from heaven upon the place beneath. It blesseth him that gives him and that it takes. Shakespeare. The Merchant of Venice, but applicable to any moment in time, to any group of soldiery or any nation. Oh God, I have the chills. I love this. A nation of the face of earth, or in this case, to the Twilight Zone. Okay, so wait a minute. I'm sorry. I don't know why right now I'm more keyed up about this than when you told it before. I have the chills. Your retelling was great. What is your rating?
Originally, I gave it an 8. I'm going to give it a 9. This story is soul-searching. This story puts you in the mind of this soldier. Unlike any other storyteller, Serling does this in a way that in 25 minutes, you've relived both sides. And now the question is, what's right, what's wrong? It leaves it up to the viewer to decide. Those of you that have studied Corregidor, the Americans were obliterated by the Japanese and not treated very well. Think the Bataan Death March. So he's got that in his mind, but the reality is, do we need to do the same kind of vicious attack? There's got to be humanity. There's got to be some sense of respect for others. They're just fighting the same battle that we are. This is not worth killing more soldiers over some worthless thing.
I gave it a 9 as well. I've always adored this episode. Its IMDb rating is significantly lower. It's a 7.2, which I guess I don't really know the reason why it's a lower one.
Well, one is maybe my age, and 2 is your military background. You've
it could be that we're two biased people that have different biases.
So I'll
but I
admit
would assume
that I
that
am
every
to a
viewer
degree.
has some weird bias. But if you're just watching this show, a 7.2 is still good. But I mean, on the lower scale of these episodes,
Well, it's not the first military show that
it
he's
is
done.
not. It's not.
So if you're a follower of this and you see, oh God, there's another bunch of GIs that are in a jungle, maybe that detracts a little bit from the overall rating.
Maybe. I don't know. I genuinely don't know. I adored this episode and
I
watching
loved
it.
it.
So the one thing that I there's some really good trivia, and I'm going to read that here in a second. But one of the things that just personally impacted me the most was, as someone that was in the military, but it doesn't even really mean that you're in the military. It could be any freaking job that you've ever had. Someone that's new that gets hired above you, that comes in and they're green, like you said, behind the ears, right? That comes in with this egotistical dickhead kind of, we're going to go and do this and we're going to do this without any effing experience in the field. I love the way that his crew addressed it. They were like,
absolutely.
they were very much like, what the fuck are you? Like, you're good. Just slow your
We've
roll.
been fighting this war
You know?
for 3 years. You've been fighting it for 3 weeks.
Exactly. You're new to this. And I don't know. I'm not on any like side. I just so much less aggression. I don't know. There's ways around it. And the way that he came in, like, where's the blowtorches? By the way, on the last reviewing, that made my skin crawl. Like, are the new blowtorches? Can we not go blowtorching a cave of people hiding? I'm like, that is nauseating.
And they made a point of saying that there were injured in that cave.
Exactly.
So guess what? At some point,
thank you for saying that.
rather than going from 1 to 10, go from 1 to 5 or 1 to 1. Bypass the cave. These are human beings. This is the soul searching that every one of us, if you watch this episode, are going to be thinking about as you watch it, I think.
Absolutely. There's a humanistic point of this, and I think that Rod nailed it. And I'm not going to say that you had to have served to know that thing, but he did. And he saw the freaking trenches, and he saw what the deployments were like, and he probably saw freaking countless officers asking people to do unrealistic shit. And to make this story is why one of the reasons why Mr. Rod Serling rules is because he freaking knows. He's been there. Okay. There's some shit I want to bring up real quick and we'll wrap this up. Dean Stockwell had to drop out of the Purple Testament from season 1 in 1960 due to scheduling conflicts. 2 years later, he starred in this episode. Both stories are about American soldiers who have supernatural visions about the Pacific War in 1945. How cool is that? He missed out on the Purple Testament, and then they were like, want to do the same shit again 2 years later? That's amazing. Okay, this episode is one of 4 episodes to be remade for the Twilight Zone movie, and John Landis was the director of this one in the film, so that's kind of a big deal. This episode takes place in 2 times, August 6th, 1945, and May 4th of 1942. And by the way, for anyone that doesn't give Rod or the writers credit, coming up with these dates is crucial because you had to put those characters in a role that mattered at that moment, or else someone's going to call them apart. It doesn't.
Well, and the audience at that time lived this shit.
Absolutely.
They went through this.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, and then the last bit of trivia is my favorite. This is my favorite. Okay, so Dean Stockwell, you know him from the show, Lieutenant Cattell, was supernaturally placed into another person in another time. Stockwell later starred in Quantum Leap, which is pretty much the exact same thing, which was about a character jumping into the body of another character.
Another ripoff of Rod Serling's brilliance.
Starring the same character, the same actor. Oh my God. Man.
Awesome.
Okay,
Good
I was
stuff.
right. The second taping was better.
Much better.
I don't always want to record 2 in a row, but
No,
I
let's
kind of
don't
feel
do
like
that. Let's don't make
I
that
kind
a
of feel
habit.
like this was a thing. I don't want to make it a
agree.
habit, but I do agree. Guys, thank you for watching. We have some really cool shit coming up, and I have to plug them. So Brian, the guy that won the Twilight Zone trivia thing at our panel, is coming back.
Great
in
job
person.
to you, by the way.
My man, he's coming back to retell in person The Hunt, which is so great. But we have really big news. The next episode we're doing starts off we're still in season 3, but it starts off 1962. Yeah. And we're going to be doing, oh my God, this is what happens when you have 19 drinks when you record these episodes. Oh my God. Nothing in the Dark, starring handsome ass, one of my favorite actors of all time, Mr. Robert Redford. One of the very first episodes of this entire show that I saw and remembered. We have a friend of ours, and if you want to look her up, her name is Sherry. She was actually in the film Stand By Me, one of my top 10 favorite films of all time as a stand-in. And she is in the poster. She's in multiple scenes of the movie. And she's going to come in here and talk with you and me and Sarah. And she's going to retell this iconic episode of The Twilight Zone, but also retelling what it was like for her to play a body double for what's-his-name. And it's going to be absolutely incredible. So please watch the next episode. It's going to be groundbreaking.
Have we actually hit the mainstream in this?
Oh, I think this is going to happen.
To all of you out there,
cheers again.
None of this
is the 90th time
without
cheers.
you. We love you guys
Thank
and
you
gals.
so much.
Thank you.
Andy, Sarah, Bonnie, Justin, Lila, everyone
Fitz,
that was
Scout, Sandy, all
everyone
of you
that was
that have
there.
supported us. We love you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Brian, we'll see you guys next time. Sherry, thank you for joining us next time. We're super freaking pumped. What dimension are we even in again?
We're in Talking Tina right now.
That's right,
We're
we're
in the
Talking Tina.
Twilight Zone.
I've been
is where we
Steve.
are. I'm Kelly.
And we will see you in another dimension. Take it
Cheers.
easy, everybody. We'll see you next episode.
Makes you wonder, doesn't it? Where is this place and when is it? The answer is it doesn't make any difference.
Can you say eggs?
Steve is.